Okay, let's start the Kubebuilder and the controller-runtime meeting. Today it's 11th March 2021. Please don't say nothing that you don't like to have for all prospectors, for all in the internet. Ajay, would you like to start? I think you have the first topic.
Yeah, I hope this meeting is not me talking and you listening for the whole duration. The first topic I have is about exporting some internal packages that we had in Kubebuilder. We already create. I'm gonna share my screen if you don't mind, Camila.
Please feel free.
You have to stop sharing yours. Uh, okay, so the first one is about some there were a couple issues about exporting a couple packages that we were using as internal before. They were already created accepted in Tuesday's meetings, in this one and the previous one, if I'm not mistaken. And um, in order to do these ones, they share they are creating file system abstractions, and they are creating a lot of them in different parts of the code. They are creating like each create AP command is creating four just for the files and a couple for the config file. So they are creating like six of them. And the first pull request that I wanted to mention today is this one, 2080. Uh, what it does is it creates a single file system abstraction that it's created by the client itself, and then it's injected in the rest of the object, so that we don't need to create our own file system abstractions in the different layers. This is not, it's a breaking change because just because of this, because there's a method in an interface that we were exporting that right now needs to be changed to inject the file system. So it's technically a breaking change, and I would like to know, what do you think about this one? This enables the other two draft pull requests that are also linked in the agenda, that are 82 and 83, that do the current export of those packages. And as it is a breaking change and we are already in a beta, I would like to know some comments about this. I already asked Eric about this one, and I don't know if you want to share your thoughts on this, or should I make a fast summary of it?
Uh, yeah, I can talk a little bit about it. So I think this is a really good idea. I did have one concern about the level of hoisting this abstraction, or to which level the abstraction was hoisted, because at the beginning of this whole plugins development thing, we were a little bit skeptical about exposing a particular library for flags, which is the SPF 13 flag library. I forgot what P flags, I think. Uh, and we decided in the end that was totally fine. Um, that there's no better way to do that. But now we're also exposing another library file system abstraction in the actual plugin uh, interface as well, and that's kind of locking us into something that we might not want to be locked into. I don't think that's as big a concern here because um, this file system abstraction directly mirrors the OS package effectively. So we're not really losing that much. But I just wanted to make that concern public. And also, I was a little bit concerned about the file system being injected at the CLI layer, just because that's kind of irrelevant to what the CLI layer does. Like a plugin technically could not even scaffold any files, even though that's kind of the point. Um, so it's kind of weird to have the file system injected at that point. It would make more sense to me to be injected internally within the plugin. But as Adrian, I think you pointed out earlier to me offline, the file system injection at this layer does let us basically run end-to-end tests as unit tests, because you can scaffold all code um, within like a memmap file system itself, and then check to see what was written. And it also gives us atomicity before we actually write to disk. The only problem with that is if we had some binary execution outside of the CLI scope, like go mod init or make or anything like that, those would still be a problem. And I think we do have go mod init somewhere, but you could always run those after you validate everything in the map file system. I think that would still be a problem for end-to-end tests, but I'm sure we could work around that. So those are my thoughts. I'm not diametrically opposed to doing things the way that you have them set up here, but I did want to raise the idea that even though end-to-end testing and atomicity is more possible by injecting the file system at the CLI layer, we don't necessarily need to do that.
Yeah. Just a brief comment. The reason why the client is the one that is creating the file system and injecting it is because it's also used to scaffold the config file, the project configuration file, and that file, it's created by the client itself. It's not created by a plugin or by a subcommand. So if we want to have the atomicity or the end-to-end test that you are mentioning, we need to have the same file system for both the config file and the scaffolded files. So we can't do it like deeper in the plugin layer or something like that. We need to do it from the client. The user doesn't have to provide it. It's just created by at the creation of the client. So yeah, that's a bit of a concern, exposing both Affero and also having that responsibility moved to the client. But I think that the benefits that we could get from this are pretty significant. And also these packages that we want to export, this one, the machinery, the scaffolding machinery is being duplicated by operator SDK, and basically it's being copy pasted and using internally. And if we manage to expose it instead of copy pasting it, they will just use the one that we are offering. And I think that will reduce the duplicated code a lot. There are like, it's like 1,000 lines or something like that that would be removed from that are duplicated right now. So
But we can expose without change as well.
Yeah, originally this was internal because we didn't want Kubebuilder to become a
templating system.
file system library, effectively. And these details were like internal to plugins, and they weren't actually related to plugins themselves. But it is much more convenient to write plugins with these tools than by making your own, or as in the operator SDK, copying them.
Would any other person would like to put your thoughts as well? So I'm not sure if you reach a consensus about this one. The first concern is like expose the lib, but if for use the plugin system, we also need this dependency anyway. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say that after the new API, the new plugin system API that was approved for phase 1.5 already injects the file system, and that API, that part of the API has already been approved in a design document. So we basically will be doing this sometime. If we do it now, we will be able to use it for version 3. If we don't do it now, it will be delayed, but we will get to do it sometime. So I think it's a pretty small breaking change, and we can afford doing it now.
Okay, so about all concerns that you spoke, Eric, has something that you think like, okay, uh, can you reach a consensus now, or you think that would it be better we discuss in the pull request, or you would like to list the big one or two big ones that is still after the discussion? Okay, how you can reach the consensus here? For me, it shows reasonable. We have some concerns. Um, someone other person would like to speak about the concerns? Do you think that it's a big problem or not? And why? Angel, what is the biggest one after the scaffold? Okay, uh, make it public this internal code. I think it's fine because we decided for another place. So this is a concern that if we decide for other files and the other things that are used just internally, that we was before just a copy and paste. So I think the rule, the same rule apply. About the dependence that we will export now, if you don't do that, uh, in the client, in the consumer, we also you need to have that in the same way. So this is a concern, but it has this other thing as well. Has another one that I forgot, Eric.
The responsibility is now moved to the client, and that's not ideal, but that's the lowest. It's the highest layer, but it's the lowest that we can go because the config file is generated over there, so we can't go deeper. The only once this is merged, this small breaking change, the other two exporting both libraries would be almost non-breaking. There is a small breaking change when exporting the machinery because there were some errors that were being exposed, weren't being exposed, but were being exposed through a function that created them and a function that checked if they were that kind of error, and that has been moved to properly Golang 1.13 errors that use errors.as to check the type, but it's without taking into account that part is non-breaking. So the other two draft pull requests will be able to be merged pretty easily if we agree on the file system breaking change.
Okay. Has any other person that would you like to raise your thoughts, see a problem or not? Has any other concern as well? I don't think so. So
Okay,
I
I will
believe,
talk offline with Eric then.
yeah,
That's the only one who raised concerns and try to get this merged and
and
that
see
will
if
be the
you
first.
also others, if you felt more comfortable to go there and to put your thoughts in the pull request or speak with Shadiro,
Yeah,
uh,
sure.
it's fine as well. So I think we will not find a consensus on this one here now, but it would be nice to get the others collab as well.
Mm. And I think that ends the first point in the agenda, and the second one is gonna be a bit longer. Uh, Plugins phase 1.5. The breaking change in the API due to introducing the plugins phase 1.5 has already been approved in an enhancement proposal that was merged. Uh, it's true that when we were implementing it, there were like an extra, some extra concepts like the plugin bundle that I'm gonna describe now that weren't considered at the start. So there has been a modification to the design that it's currently open as a pull request. Okay, it's not working. Mm, yeah, this one. It adds some concepts the plugin bundle or some other concepts that weren't introduced in the first one. So if you can get some time and review this one, would be nice to get it merged before. And the main point about the plugin phase 1.5 and the current state is that we are currently on beta.0 and it has some breaking chains, obviously. The breaking chains have been approved in the enhancement proposal in the first version of this document that has already been merged, but we are in a beta 0 and that also means that we are close to a release. So in case we want to implement plugin phase 1.5 for version 3, we'd have to merge this part before releasing. And probably that requires at least another beta version and maybe a release candidate version to freeze the API. First, I would like to say which are the advantages of creating this plugin phase 1.5, which features it enables. Um, the first part of the implementation allows to change plugins. This means that right now we can only use one plugin at a time. This is we can either use the Go plugin version 2 or the Go plugin version 3. Once we merge this part, we will be able to join plugins to change them, and the Go plugin would do the first part of the scaffolding, and the declarative pattern plugin would, for example, only do the changes that need to be done to implement the declarative pattern. This was previously being done through a experimental, outdated plugin system that has never been removed from the code. But once we get to plugin 1.5, we can also remove this experimental code. Aside from adding this plugin changing, well, due to the fact that we are adding this plugin changing feature, we will be able to split the monolithic Go plugins, which are pretty big, into a base Go plugin and some extra plugins that will do some part of the scaffolding. For example, the component config scaffolding is a clear candidate for a separate plugin. Extracting the config directory related scaffolding to a different plugin is also one of the clear uh, things that could be implemented as plugins. Also, Operator SDK is doing its own plugin chaining, like using alpha releases and beta releases of Kubebuilder. So if we merge 1.5, it will be able to use the official supported one. And those are some of the advantages that just plugin chaining will bring to the table. There's also, with this plugin phase, it also improves a bit the plugin resolution algorithm. So there will be some cases that weren't supported before and will be supported right now. For example, if you specify a set of plugins that will be used, but you don't specify the project version that will be used, the client will try to resolve it by itself. For example, if all the plugins only support a common version and that version is project version 4, it will be used that one. So it's a bit more intelligent in the resolution plugin, in the resolution algorithm, but that's transparent for everyone. And that has no breaking change at all. So those are some of the scenarios that will be like the advantages of implementing plugin phase 1.5. The main concern right now about doing so
Right.
is
Let's wait. Let's just do a recall to see if everybody in the call get the idea of your proposal. So first of all, today in the Kubebuilder, we go there and run Kubebuilder init and it generate a Golang project. So by moving forward with this, we can, for example, Kubebuilder init, plugins, and put Golang and any other option plugin that is scaffolds things on top. So by default, for example, any API that we scaffold, we will use this option. Currently in Kubebuilder, we have this declarative partner that is our add-on plugin that is the way that we called it before, that do things in the controller. So by going there and doing Kubebuilder init and passing the both plugins, we are saying that in our project, we will want always for any API that you are creating using the additional option as well. The other advantage is like we want to run Kubebuilder, create API, plugins as flag, and it has a chain of plugins that you'd like to do nice things in that scaffold. So we will do the full scaffold, the full files, the full behavior using Go, for example. Then we can use again the declarative as example. So just for that API, we will do the customization on top. So we could do things very nice. We have another proposal that was accepted as well, and is blocked by this one, that is generate the full code for deploy an image on the cluster, which means like a lot of people would like just to create an operator to have the solution cluster. And by using this plugin, would you have the template, the full code, like an archetype, scaffolded by default, following what you believe that would be good practice, like a conditional status, finalizers, things like that. So this also could help people learn how to do the projects, have the solution faster, and then also can change the code that is generated by default. This is one of the ideas. And the other option, as Agilis highlight, is the possibility of we say that one plugin is composed for other plugins. So for example, if you would like to have a plugin that requires the Helm plugin and the Go plugin, scaffold both, we could make a composition and then create another plugin that do the changes, the adjustments that we want. So we will provide this facility, this flexibility in the API for any consumer. that today we have just SDK, I believe, because the 3.0 was not released yet. So the plugin system in the TZ API is not provided so far by Kubebuilder, just in the master branch and in the alpha beta releases. So I don't think that we have other consumers, but I'm not sure about that. So we might have, but the use case that we have that we know about is SDK by sure.
Yeah, yeah. I forgot to mention that you will be able to set the plugins flag at init, and that would mean that those plugins will be used for the whole project for all your command calls, or you will be able to override those for a specific command. For example, I could use the basic one, the go one for the init, and all my controllers and APIs would be the normal ones. But if I want only one API to follow the declarative pattern, I will be able to override it for that command alone, and that would mean that only that command will follow the declarative pattern, but the whole project as a whole will
One
be using the other ones.
another idea that we have with that as an idea, as a suggestion, is like in the last meeting, Philip presented the config gen, which is very nice. So we know that the config could be replaced by the config gen, and we have the language, the plugin to scaffold the language files, Go or Ansible or Helm or Shell, however. So the idea was like if you will be able to extract the config and it is be completely transparent for the users, because all this change doesn't change anything for the end users, just for the API point of view. So if you are able to do that, we can have a good strategy to opt in and opt out the config gen, which would help us like give it this flexibility to move forward, to ensure the backward compatibility, um, and indeed provide the both possibilities until we be able to decide for the best strategy for the project. It is if it is some is the idea.
Yeah. I don't know if there are any doubts before I start saying which are the concerns and how we can solve them. So if anyone has any doubt before we continue, he can speak or raise his hand or comment in the chat. I don't mind.
The silence
Okay.
shows no.
Okay. If
So
anyone has any concern or any doubt, please feel free to interrupt me. There is one concern that was raised, and the main one is that we are uh, introducing an API breaking change in beta.0 when there's nothing, there's no rule that forbids us from doing that, but it's not the most elegant pattern either. So it's a bit of a concern. So the idea was to try to reduce at a minimum which part we are going to modify from the API, as we are close enough to a release so that we should care about that. And uh, in order to do so, the only well the only API change is related to the enhancement proposal that was merged. The rest of the breaking changes are related to the previous pull request that we saw about exporting some files and removing and exporting some packages. So the current implementation also contains that, but once we merge that, it will erase so that they don't have those files, and we will use the exported ones. And without taking that into account, the only breaking change is the modification in the IPA. This means that end users won't be affected at all. Users of the client of either Kubebuilder or Operator SDK won't see any effect. They will only see the enhancement in the plugin resolution algorithm, but that's quite transparent, and it's an enhancement. It's not a breaking change. CLI developers such as Operator SDK. Well, Operator SDK is both a CLI developer and a plugin developer. It has its own plugins, and it also uses a CLI tool. But from the creation of the CLI, the API will be exactly the same. There won't be any changes either. And the only changes will be in the creation of the plugins. So they are
I
and those breaking changes are already approved in the enhancement proposal. So I think we are quite safe merging this proposal. I think it is a concern to modify the API in the beta 0, but we are not in a release candidate or already with a major version release, so it's not a forbidden thing to do. And the it has been already quite it has been thoroughly tested through the old decorative add-on or uh, add-on plugin that was experimental. It has been converted into a plugin and is included in the pull request, and all the test data in all the tests in Kubebuilder are passing. And also it has been aligned with SDK. I just revised today to the last changes in SDK. The plugins in SDK have been ported to this phase 1.5, and all the uh, CA tests are also passing. So I think we have a pretty good coverage and testing uh, support for this feature. And I think that even being a breaking change and in a beta state right now, I think we can merge it and release it as part of the version 3.0. The alternatives to this could be waiting until the next major version, in which case uh, I don't know when version 2 was released, but I'm sure that it was a couple years ago or something like that. Uh, I don't know when version 4.0 will be released, but I think it's quite long in the future. So waiting for our next version, I think it won't allow the users to benefit, the users and the developers to benefit from all the features that we are adding here. And the other alternative that this was mentioned by Eric would be supporting both phase 1 and phase 1.5 in, for example, version 3.1. And that would mean basically having a duplicate of Kubebuilder for version 1.5 to support
so
both. So
just one question. If you will follow with this third option, how hard it will be to keep maintain Kubebuilder?
the whole plugins would have to be duplicated with all the templates. Maybe the templates can be shared, but the plugins themselves will have to be duplicated. Any change that we do to a plugin will have to be done at least in 2 places, and maybe even 4 if we are also doing it for Go version 2. If we the all the client package will have to be basically duplicated too. Uh, all the plugin package, mostly all packages will have to be duplicated except for the model one and for the config one. So I think it's quite a lot of effort to maintain both copies at the same time.
Why
And
would why would the plugins themselves need to be duplicated? Couldn't they just be ported to phase 1.5 and be done with it?
if we have both support for version 1 and version 1.5, we will have to. duplicate them for the API of a plugin is different. It doesn't have only a run method. Now it has a scaffold, post scaffold, press scaffold. So we will probably have to duplicate them. There may be some shortcut for this, but most of the code would have to be duplicated somehow.
I guess like you would have to do some duplication at the plugin interface level, but you wouldn't have to duplicate any of the scaffolds. I actually think the code there would the code duplication there would not be that bad. But when it comes to the CLI package, yeah, there would be a decent amount of duplication there. It wouldn't really be duplication because you'd be rewriting a lot of it for phase 1.5.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out that there's not as much duplication as you think, but there still is a decent amount.
So maybe not to be too hard, but we know that we will losing maintainability. So
I know. Wait.
Sorry, you
I
go.
know you, Eric, you were the one that who raised this concern, the one about the beta release right now. I think I have reduced to the minimum the AAP breaking changes to only be those that were approved in the first enhancement proposal that was merged. So I do think that it can be merged, and
But then, just to be sure, the minimal is without the bundle plugin.
no. But
If you do bundle plugin.
the bundle plugin is an addition. It's not a breaking change in any sense. The bundle plugin allows us that concept hasn't been explained here in the meeting. The bundle plugin allows us to group a certain set of plugins so that users don't have to refer to them as four of them. For example, imagine that I have 4 plugins in my system. I would have to say Kubebuilder init dot dash dash plugins equal, and I would have to list 4, 5, or 7 plugins. And in order to avoid that, we have a bundle concept that basically is a group of plugins. So when the user, instead of providing the name of each of the plugins, it can provide the name of the bundle, and the CLI will know how to resolve to all the plugins.
Yeah.
So it's just an abstraction for the user, so that the user doesn't see that much breaking change.
It is in the API what allow us to compose this, make the composition of the plugin, say that plugin A is equals A, B, and C, and do this magic.
Yeah, but that change itself is not a breaking change. It's
Sure.
just an extra feature that is needed so that operator SDK doesn't break backwards compatibility, but it's not a breaking feature. So in case that wasn't merged for version 3.0, that could be merged for version 3.1, or even, yeah. So that's not the main concern, because it's just an addition of the API, but it's needed in order for operator SDK to maintain full backwards compatibility and use this new plugin system. It requires the bundle concept.
So I think the question that we need to answer here, actually, no need to answer, but the goal of this is like we need reach a consensus. We will merge 1.5 before the stable release, or we will do the stable release now and don't merge 1.5 plugins. So in that document, if you can you show the agenda, please? What I did, I tried to put at least all pros and cons that was in my mind to help us to reach the best decision for us. Regards the concern, like we are in a beta, so we cannot breaking, introduce a breaking change. I would agree with that if the breaking change affects the end users, which is not the case, or if we already have an API provided by the project. However, before we do this release, we don't have API at all. So we are saying that we cannot do that because we are in beta and you break something. But this something was not delivered for nobody before officially. So I'm not sure if I agree with the concern, if I have the same concern about this point, about it's beta, so it's not nice to break. I agree if it's something that was provided already. It's the same thing. I put a new feature in the project. So before I do the stable release, I change this feature. It's fine. Nobody is actually using that feature before the release. So I think it's not so diselegant, like, it's more at this point. The good things that I believe is like we this if we merge the chains now, we will have a clean API. We will not do a release with an API with things that it's like you born deprecated, uh, you born in like no use that from the first moment. So this is something that I don't think it's nice, and keep it, and that we need to keep maintaining forever until the next one. The reason one option was like, let's put it is in the 4.0, but we don't want to make it the 4.0 soon as well. So I think it is start to be out of the table. So we have just two options, or merge now, do another beta, another more one or two, how many be required until you'll be able to do the stable, or try to make it compatible after the release without introduce breaking change, which can bring more effort to keep the project maintained after that. And probably a bad experience if someone started to use this part of the API that we know that is born and deprecated, I think the features are very important because they bring flexibility. You solve a lot of problems in GGN SDK regarding maintainability, and it will provide more real plugin options for other projects as well. So I think they are very valid. So I doesn't know. The only cons that I see is that we will need to delay the release again, like for 2 or 3 weeks in the max. I think it is would be fine.
Just a comment on the implementation. The implementation is done. The implementation included the exporting of those packages that now is in separate pull requests. So once those get merged, I would rebase to include those, but it's working right now. The implementation is fully operational, and it has passed all the tests here, both here and in SDK. So I think the implementation is quite stable too. It's not something that we need to implement now. It's already implemented.
So have someone any concern or any opinion at all about what is the best, like should we put the things that we wish now and try to delay the release like 2 weeks or 3 weeks and make it is in the way that let's say is more maintainable, we will provide the features that we like, You'll be more clean? Or should we move forward with the stable release that was not done so far because of this discussion? And then try to fit the new features with the old, with the API that will be provided, and face these problems to maintain and at all, and to document and all this stuff. Because after this release, others also you'll be using that. So we need to have a good documentation, not only for SDK, I believe, but for any tool that you'd like to consume that. So you need to be very clear about this stuff was released, but actually we would like that you use it is another stuff. We recommend, we suggest.
I don't know if
Personally,
any.
I would
Oh, sorry, go.
go ahead.
I was just gonna ask you if if we summed up your concern, the one you raised, and if you still have it, or if you want to say something about that, so you can go ahead.
Yeah, I think my biggest problem was like this whole bundling idea not being in the EP, but you've remedied that by creating an update to the EP for bundling. So I think once that gets well, first of all, that isn't a breaking change. That's a feature. So that can go in after 3.0.0, like you said. So what exists now is a breaking change, the 1.5 EP
Yeah.
and implementation. And I think now that everything in the EP is implemented and nothing more than that, I am okay with this going into 3.0.0, contingent on more people reviewing it and looking at it. Because right now, it's just been Camilla and I. I would really like buy-in from another approver before this goes in.
This
I
would be
It's a
know.
really big
nice.
change,
Yeah.
regardless.
I know Joe and has been reviewing from the SDK side, and also I know that Jesus has also looked at the proposal and review from the SDK side. But as you say, the Kubebuilder side implementation is only reviewed by G2. So
I don't
It's
know.
more the implementation that I want reviewed,
mhm,
and the API that is now being exposed.
mhm.
I think it's nice if we get other contributors as well, more people involved, it would be great. I agree completely.
Okay, so if anyone has any concern with it and doesn't want to say it now, you have time also to say it. If you don't want to say it now, you can raise them in any of the of the
I,
issues
I,
over there.
I would like to do more one question. Eric, after the things that you checked so far, the implementation and about all this stuff, do you have any other concern that is not only related to the release? We delay, anyone see any problem to delay the release for, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Has someone any other concern that was not bringing the table? Or problem that we are not seeing?
Okay, it doesn't seem to. In any case, you can comment on the enhancement proposal pull request or the other one.
Okay.
They are listed over here. Um,
I
I
think, sorry, we have just 6 minutes and we have another another thing that other person earlier
yeah.
on.
So
Would you like to
I will
speak?
finish. Yeah. So I think the idea here is to merge the pull request that I mentioned before about exporting the packages. I will rebase the implementation to only have the changes about the API and get some more reviewers over there to make the sure that the implementation code is correct. And once we do it, we can merge it.
About this one, I think if it's hard, people have time, because of this, that big PR, if you can put it very explicit here, that it has everything that you'd like to merge for 1.5, would be more productive if the people could go there and jump and test it and give your thoughts and help us to review the big one that has everything
Yeah,
instead
yeah, yeah.
of the small ones.
Yeah. I'm only listing the big one. I'm not listing the
Yeah.
other one. There are other pull requests that do this in like steps if someone prefers to review in steps, but I'm only listing the big one. So I think the other topic was raised by Elorant and is about control runtime. If you want to uh, go ahead and talk about that.
Science, you are showing the screen. Could you click on his,
Oh, okay.
yeah, in his desk, in his issue? Elliot, would you like to speak? Please feel free.
Is this one right?
Yeah, yes, this is the one.
Yeah, if you want to move or something, tell me.
Yeah, it's going to be like very brief. I'm from Kubebuilder network team, and we face an issue with controller runtime. Like we are deploying in one of our products, we are like deploying it in diamond set, and we found that controller runtime is doing the cache to reconcile resources per resource type. So for example, we were like registering to node resource. So, and every one of our pods uh, were caching like all the nodes of the cluster. So in clusters of size between 100 and 500, the spike on masters for the API server for CPU and memory is huge because it's sending us all the nodes every requeue after cycle. But at every of our pods, we were just interested in the node that was running this specific pod. So with this in mind, we found an issue at control runtime. So people talk about similar issues, and we did hack something in our product, and then we tried to put some PR upstream at control runtime. And Alvaro told me that it's a good idea if we start maybe with a design document, which is this pull request. And so this is it, more or less. What it does is adding a new field to cache.options, so you can traverse all the code until you reach the least watch for the informers. And this way you can filter out or filter in the stuff you are caching. At least is the simple approach we have found. And I suppose an alternative will be like change the builder. So you add there some DSL or just filter, I don't know, some DSL that you talk about a specific field or specific name. I don't know, but this is the whole picture. So what I show here is the details of the simple idea we have come with. I don't know, as I'm not expert at control runtime. for sure there will be a better idea, but at least this was working for us in a big scale cluster. What 100 nodes bare metal cluster was working for us and fixed our issues. So this is it more or less.
Yeah, so we're essentially out of time. I don't know if we should try to finish this if everyone has a couple of minutes left, or if we should defer to the next meeting.
Actually, I need to get out now because I have another meeting exactly now.
Okay. Yeah, the one. Yeah, go ahead.
No, but I would say that he could show at least the issue. We can put it again for the next one. And at least he could highlight his problem, his ideas, and maybe we can interact with him and help him in the pull request.
Yeah, the main debatable thing about this is there's a very long-standing issue about not having any kind of filtering possibility on the cache, which we so far blocked by saying we want some nice integration with the cache-backed client if we do that. And with this change, if we merge this, we would go away from the stance and say, okay, you can configure this on the cache, you can override the default cache, and if you do that, the default client will behave differently, but you essentially said you know better than to use the default. And that's the point that's debatable about this and about which I would want to have consensus before we merge this.
Elliot, is okay for you if we put this item in the agenda for the next one? So if it is not solved between now and there, we can discuss again with more time. You like the first item, then you have a lot of time.
For me, it's okay.
Next meeting is in 2 weeks, just for the
Yeah.
context.
So it's time. I'd like to say thank you for all. Thank you for your help and patience. We definitely miss Solid today. And is that? What do you think, folks?
Thanks, Kumal.